want to talk this evening. I just felt really strongly from talking to people in the last couple of months, and also because it's a new year. So this is very hot in the minds of most of us. When we start a new year, we start to think about, what do I need to do in the new year, right? Discipline. What am I going to discipline myself into doing this year? And hopefully it has lasted more than a month, right? More than January. But we're starting this in February, and that's fine because you know what? This should kind of kick us in the rear end to have the understanding of, okay, February, I need to keep going. Okay. It's not just about making the changes in January. February, this is where we need to make sure we have, what do you call it? Where I'm trying to think of a sports term, but you're just like not coasting, but you keep going even when it's hard, right? So didn't come up with the word, but that's fine. But here's what I want us to talk about: the power of self-control, self-discipline. Okay. But probably in ways that you might not have thought of it before. Because as most of you know, my passion is the mind and how we control our minds, and then of course how we strengthen our spirit. So we're going to talk about the mind, okay, and self-control and how you can do that. And we are going to start with some Bible verses just to make sure we're on the right track here, because the bottom line is that freedom is always possible, and God always has the perfect answer for us, and he wants to teach us. He wants to show us. He wants us to be living the best life possible. Okay. And there are so many things we need to be learning about. And that's why I would love to just be one of the venues that you guys, go to once a month, or more than once a month, that you can be learning from. Of course, I should not be the only one. You have your pastor, you can have other podcasts that you listen to, but you should always be going after knowledge, right? It's so, so, so important. Okay, so Proverbs 25:28 says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. So we don't want to be like a city whose walls are broken, right? Because then anybody can come in, any thought can come in, and that's what we're going after, bad thoughts that are just pouring in. For the spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline or self-control. So that is 2 Timothy 1:7. So God does not give us a spirit of timidity, right? But power and love and self-discipline. So we can have self-control. And then Galatians 5:22 says, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. The first step in developing self-control is to realize that we have self-control if we have the will to exercise it. And this thing about the will is just amazing. I mean, it's literally life-changing. And some of you might not have thought about the will so much lately. I think about that verse was Proverbs 25:28. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. So the will is so important because, you have the mind, the will, and the emotions, and the will literally can drive your life. You make the decision to do things, and it can literally be a decision of, I will do this. I will, like I talk to people all the time. I was just talking to a client actually today, right before this. And, she was just so excited, raving. She was just like, I've just been doing so well last couple of weeks. And because I've been saying in the morning, first thing in the morning, when I do my focus time, before I even do anything, I've been saying, I will do this. I will think this way today, I will. And it's been working. And I love it. I love it when people like see it. It can be that simple. Of course, it's not always easy. Okay. It's simple, but it's a process. You have to start somewhere. So we have the will to exercise self-control. And self-control is a big part of having a sound mind and living a life of peace and rest. By taking control of our minds, so, your thoughts and your attitudes on a daily basis, it will lead to no anxiety, no depression, or addictions of various sorts, or any other problems that we might face. And there is so much of that going on right now, so much anxiety, so much of depression is just what we choose to think about. So we have to remember taking control of our thoughts is self-control. It's where it starts. So we have to be bold enough using our will to say, no, I will not think about this. I'm going to think of my mind like a city with walls, and I have a guard at the door, who will say, no, you cannot come in. You cannot stay. You can't even come in, much less stay and sit down and have dinner. No, you're not going to come and stay. And we'll talk about more specifically what some of those could be. But this is a daily decision until it becomes a habit. I love to tell people, I love to work with people and just make it nice and simple. Don't try to reorganize your entire life. Like it's a little overwhelming. Sometimes I'm talking to people and they're like, how I'm feeling good now, but how do I know I'm going to be like this next year? How do I know I'm not going to go right back to how I was before? Okay, don't think about that. Just think about today. How can I get better today? How can I, do what I need to do, think what I need to think about today? That's self-control. And, we can talk about in a future virtual event or future podcast, how we can know that we have freedom in Christ, as far as we're not going to be sinning anymore. We just are not. Are we going to be perfect? No, we're on our way to perfection, but on our way to perfection, he will help us. And I'll just throw this in there, and this can be a future topic that we discuss. But when we are born again, we are no longer just sinners saved by grace. We were sinners. Now we are the righteousness of God. Okay, we are the righteousness of God. God made him who had no sin to become sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Memorize that verse. Let it speak to you all the time, because you should not be sinning anymore. You should have self-control, right? That is such a powerful thing. Okay, so a little mind lesson real quick, because remember, self-control begins in the mind. And you have to understand, to have self-control, you have to have mind control. Okay, so a little mind lesson. Your mind, let's say it's divided into two parts. Well, more than two parts, but we'll start there. The upstairs and the downstairs. Okay, so in the upstairs, you have two parts, the left and the right side of the upstairs. And the upstairs left, you have the rational side. And that side is self-critical, it's analytical, it makes good decisions. It's organizational, it focuses on planning, it knows boundaries, it has a sense of time, executive functioning, good judgment, self-awareness, attention, planning, social abilities. Doesn't that sound good? I mean, all these things are all in your left side. I mean, it sounds like a perfect employee, right? A perfect person who's just organized and successful. And I mean, that is your left side, okay, upstairs. Then you have your right side. The right side is the intuitive side. And that side is creative, inspirational, idealistic, and is more in touch with the spiritual. It kind of connects with the spiritual a little bit more, and is in touch with your feelings. So that side is much more emotional, okay? And it sees things in pictures, okay? More in pictures. So sometimes when you get stuck with your memories, if some bad things have happened to you in the past, this is where it's happening. Okay. It's the pictures keep coming to your subconscious and then your conscious and so on. And this is all happening on the right side. So if the right side is a lot more dominant than the left side, you can see what it can cause a little bit of dissonance in your mind. And then downstairs are natural instincts in charge of survival. Okay. So our sense of pleasure and most automatic processes like hunger, thirst, breathing, heartbeat, digestion, among other things. Right. So this one is the one that, it wants whatever, like you're hungry. I need food now. I'm hot. I need air conditioning now. I'm not willing to wait. No way. So that is the downstairs. Okay. So we can refer to this as a guard dog. I saw this in a book that I was reading not too long ago by Dixie Andelin Forsyth. And I love one of her mom's. Her mom wrote Fascinating Womanhood, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And I just came across her and I was like, oh, let me check this out. It's a timeless woman. But it has a great example here of the natural instinct part of us, which is the guard dog. And if we're not careful, and I want to just read a little bit of that, because if we're not careful, the guard dog can really take us off on the wrong path. And self-control really needs to, bring it in and get it under control. Okay. Just like, I don't know how many of you have dogs, but I have a dog, and yeah, I need to bring it under control because the dog can really drive everybody crazy, especially when there are people that come in the house that are not supposed to be there. I have a Chihuahua, a long-haired Chihuahua, and he's cute as a button, but he can be really annoying. Okay. So this is what your downstairs of your brain can be like if you don't bring it in, if you don't control it. A lot of it is good. So the guard dog is a fairly simple part of us that wants to protect us and wants to feel good. It loves food and will pretty much eat until it bursts, if allowed, unless an adult human comes along to stop it. It likes to play and have fun and is driven by impulse and appetite. Its motto is, if it feels good, do it. But it's a nervous creature, constantly thinking about keeping itself and others safe. And so perhaps its other motto is, if it might be dangerous, it is. When it's scared, it generally has 3 solutions: fight, run away, or freeze. The guard dog is quite reactive and doesn't really plan things out. It's fast, but primitive. This is why many people think it can't be trained. Its potential for evolution is limited. But like with a dog, training can help a lot. People's guard dogs can be different, but what we feed grows stronger. If we make the untrained guard dog the most important part of the household, its rather barbaric agenda will dominate, and it will be hard to get it to obey commands once it gets used to being in charge. You guys seeing the correlation here? But if you balance it with the agendas of the upstairs, it can be a great friend and ally. In the end, survival is the most important thing for the downstairs brain. Anytime you experience something in life, your brain receives it like it's a person coming over for a visit. The guard dog is going to bark if it doesn't either know or like the visitor. Everything that wants to come through must pass by your guard dog first. And then I'll go down here. In life, we are constantly engaging our downstairs to first make sure that a person, a situation, object, or an idea is safe. Once we're satisfied that it is, the data can pass by initial entry to our brain and on to the higher functions. The upstairs portions where reason and creativity get things done with high-level skills and technique. And this is where we are at our best. So this is where we are at our best. So as you can see, the guard dog has an important function. Okay, the guard dog in us has an important function, but we have to train it. We have to make sure that it stays under control so that we can enjoy the upstairs. Because some people live in the downstairs their whole lives. Okay, it's all about getting my needs met, getting my bills paid, getting my, belly filled, I mean, it's like, it's a constant survival mode. But really, real life is peaceful, exciting. You move more into a spiritual realm when you live upstairs. Okay. So if you take care of everything in the downstairs, then you can enjoy and relax and live in rest and peace upstairs. So let's see. So things, thoughts, and attitudes over which we need to develop self-control. So here are some of you are note takers. So here's something great for you to kind of think about where you might need to develop self-control. Walking in love, forgiveness. This is actually scientifically proven that walking in love and just automatically defaulting, like always going towards love in every situation in your life is better for your health. It's better for your brain. And they can actually see that happening in your brain. Okay. If you can visually see what's happening in your brain, it just makes a healthier brain. And all of us should try to figure out, well, how does that happen? Again, think about one day at a time, right? How can I walk in love today and forgive? If you need to, and often I do this, Lord, help me to forgive today. Help me to walk in forgiveness. Help me to forgive people, not take offense. There are many different angles of forgiveness, many different things, like taking offense or, being nasty to somebody because they said something to you, or all these things. It's close cousin to walking in forgiveness, right? Sometimes you're unforgiving to somebody you don't really hardly know. So that takes self-control. Just walking in forgiveness. Accept God's word and obey it. First of all, take in God's word on a daily basis. But I would like to take it a step further. Accept it. Now you have a choice to make. Am I going to receive it, believe it, accept what it's saying, and then obey it? And think throughout the day, am I obeying this? Am I really following what it says? That takes self-control. It really does. I want you guys to think about that in the coming days, okay? Succeed. Everyday decisions. I'm not talking about in life, okay? Again, it's every day, okay? What do I need to do today? It takes self-control to think about what you need to do today and do it. Like if you had planned on, I don't know, like one of the ladies that I saw today, a client, she's writing a book, okay, which I've done before, and it takes a lot of self-discipline. And often I would be like, okay, today I'm going to write for 1 hour. I don't care what happens. I'm going to block out 1 hour and I'm going to do it. And at the end of the day, if I had done that, I had blocked out 1 hour, to me, that was amongst other things, but I felt successful. Like I did what I set out to do. It was good. I liked what I put down on paper, but you decide. But that takes self-discipline, to just do that. Pray or fast. That takes self-control. I mean, I'm just going to be 100% honest with you guys. Nobody likes fasting. But I really don't like it. But you know what? I've made myself, whenever, like a group of us are doing it or whatever, to me, that's one of the best ways to develop self-control, because most of us don't like it. I've never met anybody that likes fasting. And it's the best way. That or a cold shower. Wake up in the morning, take a cold shower. That'll really help. But like for me, I love breakfast. It's my favorite meal. I love to do my focus time and have my breakfast, and just, that's really when God speaks to me, but it's better when I'm eating breakfast. I've many times chosen, I'm going to fast breakfast because I need to just develop some self-control here, and breakfast is what I'm going to cut out. Or pray, pray more, pray on purpose, pray over your kids, pray over your family. That takes self-control. Make that decision. Retrain our minds. Here's another one. Retrain our minds to think correctly every minute. Whew, that's a hard one. Every minute. Think about what you're thinking about every single minute. That takes some time. So if you don't feel like you can handle that right now, you know what? Just do what you can. Just start. But every minute, this is so important. Speak the truth. It takes self-control to just be determined to speak the truth and always be, truthful with whatever it is that you say. It's amazing to me how many people nowadays just think it's okay to say little white lies. I deal with people many times, and I know my husband does in the world of business, where it's like, it's okay to say a little white lie here and there. It's not a big deal. No, it is. We need to train ourselves, right? Have self-control to speak the truth always. Exercise and eat right. This is probably something we've all heard, have dealt with and struggled with, but sure, this takes some discipline, and I'm so excited about so many of the people that I've been talking to, and a lot of them are like, no, I've been exercising, I've been eating right. And eating right is a huge one for me, because I just think we need to all make a decision to get away from processed food. It takes discipline to cook things from scratch, to cut, like one of my favorite things to eat is kale. It takes work and self-control and self-discipline to get the kale, wash the kale, cut the kale, put the kale in the refrigerator, so that you can have it throughout the week. And it's really easy to fry, with olive oil and some spices, but it's so good for you. It's one of the best things for you. But it takes work. It takes self-discipline to actually, make the things from scratch. Give and handle finances better. That takes self-control. It takes self-control to remember to do it, on a weekly basis or monthly basis, however much you give. But giving is such a huge part of free life, a life of freedom. You're never going to get to where you need to be without giving. You're not. And that's a whole other topic we can mention another time, but giving your tithes and offerings is so important and freeing. And your blessings will never flow towards you unless you give. That's just, that's just it. I mean, the more you give, the more you'll be blessed. It's just amazing how that happens. And then depression and addictions. Now, depression, I put that on here because depression is a choice. And we choose to be depressed based on the thoughts that we allow to come in and stay. I love what some people like to describe it, like Nancy Alcorn, one of my heroes and the founder of Mercy Multiplied. She says, you don't have to invite a thought in that comes in, like I'm unworthy, for example, or I'm never going to be good enough. That thought comes in, you have a choice. You can either bring him in and say, okay, have a seat. Let's talk about this. Okay. And, in the meantime, that thought the thought of I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm made in the image of God can't stay here at the same time. So that thought's going to leave. The two of them can't sit at your table with you. So you have a choice. Which one are you going to focus on? So that takes self-control. All these things are possible if we train ourselves to make the right choices on a daily basis. And this begins with our will. We can control what we do, what we think about. And this indicates how we take control over our lives or let other people control us. We decide. We make the choice. It's always about our choice. So we have to make a decision today. Am I going to have self-control in all these areas that I mentioned, or am I not? So if we struggle in whatever area, any of these areas that I mentioned, then we need to make a conscious decision every day to involve God in our decisions. We can start by saying, just like I said at the beginning, I will do this. Like if you're struggling with an addiction, start the day as simple as, I will not do this today. I will not, I don't know what it's alcohol. I will not touch that today. I will not touch the alcohol today. One of the first things that I like to do in the morning is say out loud, Colossians 3, 1 and 2. Since I have been raised with Christ, today I will set my mind on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. And I will set it and keep it set. I'm going to set it there. And I visualize myself up there with Christ. And it's such a beautiful picture. He's up there and I'm up there. And I remind myself of that all day long. And you know what? It works. Sometimes I have to remind myself, like at noon, or in the afternoon. Okay, I keep my mind. I set my mind there. But this keeps me in line. So self-control and self-discipline shouldn't be burdensome, okay, or legalistic. It should just be a manifestation of the peace and joy that we have inside. But it still takes our will to carry it through. So it's a decision that we have, and a self-controlled life is a peaceful and joyful life, okay? Self-controlled life is possible. It's just a matter of making a decision. Okay. And here's something that I love. 1 Peter 5, 8 through 11, basically can be summarized into this. The greatest temptation in life is to accept less than the best God has for us. Think about that. The greatest temptation in life is to accept less than the best that God has for us. Now, I like that because you know what? The best that God has for us is going to involve self-control, self-discipline, hard work. And, I didn't necessarily mention work in any of these things, but you know what? It takes work to do all of it. It takes work to think about what you're thinking about. It takes work to cook the right foods. You know what I mean? All these things take work. But it gives you the best life that God wants to give you. And most of us settle. So that's something that should not be acceptable to any of us. And I want to encourage, everyone to just seek within yourself, like, what is it that I need to work on?